Disney's latest live-action adventure has finally arrived on both Disney Plus with premium access and in theaters. Jungle Cruise is based on the popular ride at Disneyland, much like Pirates of the Caribbean. Does it deliver the entertainment worthy of your cash? Jungle Cruise takes us on a thrill ride down the Amazon with wisecracking skipper Frank and intrepid researcher Lily, who is determined to uncover an ancient tree with unparalleled healing abilities, possessing the power to change the future of medicine. The unlikely duo encounters many dangers and supernatural forces, all lurking in the deceptive beauty of the lush rainforest. But as the secrets of the lost tree unfold, the stakes reach even higher for Lily and Frank, and their fate hangs in the balance. So I've had the good fortune to visit Disneyland at least 15 times, and each visit, one of the must-do rides is Jungle Cruise. It's an easygoing, laid-back ride filled with cheesy jokes from the skipper. And part of the whole charm is that while the skippers have a script that they all use, each puts their own flair to their jokes. As the film opens, it is very reminiscent of that ride. We watch Dwayne Johnson as Frank take tourists down the Amazon, giving a ramshackle tour that is questionable when it comes to a lot of the facts. If you've never been on the ride, this opening sequence will probably seem extremely cheesy, cringy, and most likely out of place. This portion truly is made for fans of the ride, and I think it's meant to give us the feel of traveling down that lazy river. This movie has a lot of characteristics that reminded me of an Indiana Jones movie. There are scenes of slapstick action where characters narrowly escape calamity through just this series of convoluted and convenient maneuvers. Those sequences are also then coupled with an upbeat musical score, and it just makes it lighthearted and fun. The setting is well done in this. Sometimes you can tell that it's CGI, but a lot of the jungle and river have a realism to them that really helps us to transport us into that world. There's CGI also utilized to create some creatures, and it's done fairly well. I mean, we can tell that they're not practical effects, but there weren't any bad enough to be distracting. And some of the effects are actually downright creepy, so that was a bonus. Emily Blunt as Lily is almost instantly likable, and I really enjoyed her dynamic when coupled with Dwayne Johnson. They both can do comedy very well, and they have some really good timing together. They also don't take themselves too seriously in these roles, which allows them then to have a lot of fun with the characters. Jack Whitehall as Lily's brother McGregor is kind of this bumbling sidekick to everything. He's there for some extra comic relief, and some of the time it really works. His quiet sarcasm is his strong point. Jesse Plemons plays the main antagonist, and he just eats up the role. Sometimes his accent is a little wonky and leaves some to be desired, but I like him even though he's not terribly menacing. And the entire premise of the story is that Lily is trying to find this legendary tree with blossoms that have incredible healing powers. She's acquired an artifact that points to the legend's truth, so she hires Frank to take her there via the Amazon. And when the story is full of action, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of this swashbuckling adventure filled with danger, peril, and then all kinds of pitfalls. The issue with the 2-hour and 7-minute movie, though, is that when there isn't any action, it's just boring. Some of the quiet moments do work, and there are some touching exchanges that happen between Lily and Frank, but on the whole, anytime the action lulls, the pace of the story almost comes to a halt. And I think this is kind of an overcomplicated story as well. In addition to Plemons being the antagonist, there is another villain who's played by Edgar Ramirez. And while his story is fairly interesting, especially once we get some good context on him, it's just another piece to the story that ends up bloating it more than moving it along. Ramirez's backstory comes more than halfway into the film, and we're introduced to him much earlier though, but we get to learn about him and then understand his motives just really late into the story. I think had the narrative chosen to focus on one villain, not only would it have been more straightforward, but the film can then really put some danger and threat behind that particular character. I think the film as a whole is going to have problems keeping younger audiences engaged. When the excitement is there, I think it's going to hold their gaze. But the second that story pauses to just have some back and forth discourse, they're going to be like, bye Felicia. And even for me as an adult, this felt long. I had fun during parts of it, and I tracked with the story, but I think it could have had a bunch trimmed to make the story progress more efficiently and then cut down on the overall runtime. Now, depending on how many people you have in your household, this may or may not be worth the extra investment. Overall, while the action is fun and the dynamic banter between Blunt and Johnson is engagingly entertaining, the movie as a whole is overly complicated and it lacks a consistent excitement to captivate an audience. I think if you really look at it, you're going to see a lot of similarities to The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. That movie has the same kind of setup, but I think it executes it better. There's no sex, nudity, or profanity, but there is a shocking amount of brutal violence. I give Jungle Cruise 2.5 out of 5 couches. Have you ever been on the Jungle Cruise ride? If so, do you have a favorite segment? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.